Welcome back to the Omniverse Comics Guide podcast. I'm Dave Molyneux, and we're here for another collector's item special. In these episodes, we invite a guest to delve into their comic collection and share some of their favourite items. And this time around, we have a returning guest. He's the creator of my favourite comic book series of all time, Kaijumax. He was nominated for an Eisner Award for his graphic novel Heck. He won an Eisner for penning the Top 10 sequel series, and he's about to launch a new series with Image Comics called Sleep. Rejoining us in the Omniverse today, it's Zander Cannon. Hello, hey. Zander. How are you?
Hi. Thanks for having me again.
Great to have you back. Last time we had you on talking about Kaijumax, it all just wrapped up and hit the number one spot in our top 20 of 2023. Yes. And it probably will hit again because it's coming out in what, compendium format? It's a paperback version of the same thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, is that it?
Yeah, I have my copies anyway. And I saw it in the store, I think.
Yeah, it's out. Yeah.
It's the same size, same trim size as the trade paperbacks. And it's not quite as thick as the hardcover, it's the same as the trade paperbacks.
Right.
But it has this nifty little logo on here.
Of course. Rightly so. Did it
right.
Does it also have the little notes?
No, it doesn't. It's small enough that that would be
tiny.
This is meant to be sort of like a reader copy, like that you can just have 3 volumes and you can get through the whole thing with no muss, no fuss.
Get through the whole thing like it's a
just
trial.
Suffer through the whole thing.
Way to sell the book.
Yeah. Well, that's me for you. So.
And also, they've released Top 10 as a compendium. I don't know if this is still available, but it came out a couple of years ago, I think, or a year and a half ago.
Yeah, that was a great thing to have for conventions and stuff. Because, it's so for a long time they had like two trades that weren't the same size or anything, and then this has everything in it. Like it has season 2. It's got the thing with Jerry Ordway. It's got a ton of stuff in it. So, yeah.
I was glad to get hold of it. And funnily enough, when I picked it up, I didn't realise you'd worked on Top 10. So I was more made up, no pun.
You're like, what? This is the kaiju guy.
Is that guy again? Damn, right. That's going to have to have.
And then you read that sequence where like there's the sort of like fake Godzilla character in Top 10, and you're like, did he rip that off for his whole comic book?
This guy's got one idea.
Right. I mean, that's totally where the idea sort of came. I mean,
is it
came
really?
From like. Well, I mean, like the idea of like, what if there was sort of like the other side of monsters, that sort of like this seedy anthropomorphism that Alan Moore put into a lot of stuff. I don't know. I like that. So. Oh, nice. It just stuck in there.
Cool. Well, it worked out in the end.
Sure. I think everybody's happy.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, it's like I say, it's my favorite series of all time. So no pressure on the new book then, eh?
Yeah. Well, I really appreciate it. I mean, that's such a nice thing to hear. Like, I don't know. What do you even say to that? That's really fantastic. I can understand. It was sure a fun one to do.
Well, good. That's the important thing. It's funny because like I work with a lot of artists, and I technically am one, I suppose. And no one seems to like compliments. Very few like compliments, and you kind of go, okay.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's like I love because you put a compliment in print. I'm like, yeah, great, this is awesome. You say it to my face, and then I have to do the right thing back. I'm like, these oncoming headlights are sure getting bright.
I bet that's how it feels. Yeah. So I've read the first issue of Sleep. Yeah. Very different tone.
Yeah. Well, it was nice to change speed, change gears a little bit, and like it's set in the real world, sort of, like with a horror element to it, and but yeah, like like having to draw like real life things and kind of go, and it's set in the 90s because it's a horror book, and you don't want everyone to have a cell phone or a camera, and so you kind of have to keep going like, what did payphones look like? Like what did coffee machines look like in the 90s? What did I don't know, what was fashionable? What did women wear? What did men wear? Like, what did cop cars look like? I don't know. I mean, all the normal stuff. Whereas I was just like, Kaijumax was just like rubble, destruction.
That's true.
Or everything
or super
so
high tech.
Yeah.
You could just make it up.
Yeah, or it's science fiction stuff or whatever. And now I'm like, oh yeah, I gotta I gotta actually look things up.
Damn it,
research.
research.
Which is also fun,
I bet it is. I mean, I'm really intrigued by the style as well, because whereas Kaijumax was pretty bright and cheerful for something that could sometimes be incredibly dark, this, from the first issue, has a certain cheeriness to it while looking incredibly. It's almost a reversal. There's just that little splash of colour here and there, which I'm sort of trying to figure out the purpose of for the minute.
I mean, it's all black and white or gray, tones of gray.
Yeah.
And then I put in a red to sort of signify some lore elements. Because this is just me as a creator, I'm like, well, in Kaijumax, I was always putting jokes and gags and like references and like callbacks and stuff in the background. And here I'm like, well, this is a much more stripped down story, but I'm itchy to put stuff in the background. Like I got, and so I don't like just drawing a nice background that is normal. I have to be like, there's a little red thing back there. Wonder what that means. Ooh, like, oh, this guy's glasses are red, or oh, there's like 3 rocks over there that are red. Like that kind of stuff. So that I can kind of, I don't know, like I can feel like the page is done. That makes sense?
Not just red herrings. No, again, no pun. I'm full of puns today.
I promise all the stuff pays off. Like okay. I promise it has a meaning. I guess I was talking to a friend of mine, and he was relaying it to another friend, and they were like, oh yeah, he said that there was nothing, that there was no meaning behind it whatsoever. I'm like, have you met me? Like, have I ever done anything that didn't have way too much thought behind it? Like, to an absurd degree, like to an annoying degree, I guess I should say.
You could make life easier for yourself if you didn't, but hey, the payoff is good, right?
Yeah. Life easier. Huh.
Yeah.
Yeah. One day.
Well, the mystery element is the bit that really sucks me. I'm a sucker, total sucker for a mystery. And I like this about it. And even though on the, there's the little blurb about what it's about, but I never like reading those, and I like trying to figure it out on my own.
Right.
So so far, there's a part of me that's wondering which direction it's going to go, and if it's maybe I don't want to say as obvious as it seems, but you know what I mean. It's like there's something more going on here.
Yeah. Well, you'll get them. You'll get them as I finish them. So well, you can tell me what you think.
Okay, I will.
And I love when people have theories. Like, send me any theories. I'm putting them. I have a little section in the letters page that's going to be like the conspiracy corner. And so, like, if you get it right, I'll like redact it.
Oh, nice.
So that, no spoilers, but it's like, oh yeah, give it, take a crack at it.
Yeah, why not? So why don't we hop onto some of your choices for tonight? And we're going to start off with a current read.
Okay. I have a couple of them, but I have one main one. Okay, so my main one is Metamorpho, Element Man. So this is issue 3. This is the most recent one. It's by Al Ewing and Steve Lieber.
Oh.
And it's just it's basically a reboot of Metamorpho. I mean, it doesn't seem to. I'm not really up on like the current stuff that's happening at DC, so I don't know how much. It doesn't really seem like any current
continuity or anything.
Continuity is involved in this, because it's super over the top and silly. Like it's as if it came out in the 60s, because they're like, here's this, the swinging sapphire stag or whatever, like that,
right.
That kind of stuff. Like it's very funny and very silly, and like this one is meant to be sort of like, I mean, you can tell it's like, oh, he's like Indiana Jones and he's like James Bond, and like I think it's like the Kill Bill, the Bride, and so anyway, it's super funny, and it really, I mean, I don't know Al Ewing, but I've known Steve Lieber for 30 years or something like that, and I really love that, like, his art style, when he really kind of broke through was Whiteout. And I mean, Whiteout is this very grounded sort of like, murder mystery in Antarctica. And he's the perfect art style for it. Like his style is very sort of like low key and sort of uncomplicated. But now he's become basically the go-to like humor book guy, especially for sort of like mainstream characters, Jimmy Olsen and now Metamorpho.
Oh,
and
Jimmy Olsen was great.
Oh yeah, like it's so cool, and it's so cool to see how well he handles that humor, even though his characters have like the proper proportions. Like it's not kooky the way my art is kind of kooky, like.
Whatever do you mean?
I mean, but he has this. So anyway, it's in a way it's a very conventional style, but I love how he's turned that into sort of like a comedy style.
Yeah.
So Anyway, so I bought the third issue, and it's like I immediately bought the first two issues digitally, and I was like, these are fantastic. Like,
Oh,
they're so
nice.
fun.
I'm gonna have to try those out.
Yeah, so and just like fun, breezy reading, like it's like, hey, this is kind of like reading a comic book.
Really do you remember those
really
days
fun.
when it was fun?
And I also had to, the Toxic Avenger from Ahoy Comics.
Oh, it's Ahoy doing it.
Yeah. So Matt Bors and Fred Harper are doing the Toxic Avenger, and I've known Matt Bors for a million years, and so I did this cover. I did the.
Oh, it's your cover.
Yeah. Because I'm like, yeah.
Oh,
you mean I could draw a Toxic Avenger? Hell yeah.
So I've never really been into Toxic Avenger, so I don't know much. A friend of mine has, and he's tried to kind of get me to watch it, but you know.
it's pretty weird.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously it's weird, but it's also like, oh wow, this is like a really kind of like a bizarre hard R like horror movie that's completely absurd and over the. I mean, Troma had this sort of style that some of it has sort of like come into sort of like mainstream culture, but a lot of it is not, and a lot of it. So like this is weirdly off-putting.
What was that one? A friend of mine made me watch Chicken. What was the Chicken Apocalypse? The film Dave is unable to remember was Poultrygeist, Night of the Chicken Dead, and it seems to be a musical as well. What am I watching here?
Right.
So it is very random.
Yeah. So anyway, and the other one is Lucky Devils.
Who's that? Charles Soule.
Yeah, Charles Soule and Ryan Brown. And again, it's like Ryan Brown. I've known both of those guys for a long time, but I've known Ryan Brown for a really long time. And it's about these two devils that are like that like hatch a plan. They're the devils that are sit on your shoulder, and they hatch a plan with each of their humans that they're assigned to.
Right.
And it's great. I mean, and Ryan Brown. I mean, this is like what I was saying about my own art, where it's like, with 8 Billion Genies and with curse words.
Yeah.
It's like you can read the comic and you're like, every time there's just like a regular people standing in a regular place, you're like, man, I could just tell Ryan's going crazy right now. He just is dying to draw like a robot exploding, or like somebody's guts flying out of the mouth or something, And so anyway, he's able to sort of
cut loose on that one.
To cut loose, yeah.
I'm really looking forward to reading that one, because I was a huge fan of 8 Billion Genies, and they're making it into a TV series. But it's one of those things where I thought, one of the things I love about comics is when you get something that feels like it's just perfect for comics, and you could never translate it into. Oh, wait a minute, they're making this into a TV series.
Yeah, right. And I mean, every time I see something being made into a TV series, I'm sort of like, oh, as for that being a TV series, sure, yeah, fine. But as for those people that I know getting like a huge check, oh man, that's the best. I'm like, that's what I'm cheering for. I'm like, all the good stuff's already happened. I'll watch the show too.
Whatever, just support. Yeah. Did you watch it? I did. Yeah. Was it good? It doesn't matter. You got paid.
Yeah, I don't care.
Yeah. Oh, well, let's move on to your number 2. Now, last year you picked a favorite comic-related merch, which was Asterix and Obelix, but also sneakily Electrogore, of course, the Electrogore plush, which I'm still on the hunt for. I will get one day.
Yeah, one of these days.
But you want to go for another round this time. So.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so first I'll do the other Electrogore thing. I have a little Electrogore pin.
Is it a pin? Is that new?
Yeah. No, it's not new. It's actually from right when I started the series. But, and I had them, and then I sold them, and then I never got any more. But yeah, little Electrogore. And he glows in the dark, like, because he's got the little glow in the dark.
Of course. There's bits on his back.
Yeah. So that's my like little plug for my thing that I don't have anymore. But
make sure you buy Electromax, kids. Electromax, Kaijumax.
So this is the other one. So I got this in Japan in 2003, and it's a little Godzilla.
Oh, if you hold it towards your face. There we go.
Little Russian nesting doll.
Oh,
so
that's so cool.
So it's Godzilla.
Yeah.
And then it's I think a different version of Godzilla. There's King Ghidorah. Then there's Mecha Godzilla.
Oh, if you hold it, I'm trying to figure out which direction it is. Left. Yeah.
Oh. And then Mecha Godzilla. There's a little Mothra. Oh, oops.
Oh God.
I'm losing it. Okay.
Just you've got it. You're pro.
And then the tiniest one is like a little Minya. Sorry, this is.
It's really tiny.
Yeah. it's funny because it says on the bottom, not for sale. So I don't know where I got it.
Where'd you say you found it?
Well, I got it in Japan, and it's like, well, this is 20, more than 20 years ago. So I kind of forgot how I came across it. Because, I'm sure I just bought it, but it says it's not for sale in English.
Yes, it is. Well, it's not now because it's yours.
It's mine. No one's getting this.
That is really cool.
I always love finding something where you're like, I love that there's sort of like not even really a good explanation for this. Why does this exist?
Yeah.
I don't know,
Just the sheer randomness of it.
But yeah, I just love that that's been sitting around my studio, and people see it and they're like, is that a Russian nesting doll?
Godzilla?
Yeah, absolutely it is. Why wouldn't it be?
So should we have a look at your number 3 now, which is a complete set?
So this is my controversial item.
Oh.
Yeah. Hold on, it's heavy too. Hold on.
Oh, okay. Oh.
So this is all the Cerebus books. So
wow.
Yeah, I am. Cerebus comes with a legacy that is pretty grim. But when I was in college, like it had gotten down to about here. This is Melmoth.
Right.
And so he sort of hadn't gone off the deep end yet.
So I don't really know how he went off the deep end or anything. I just kind of.
Oh yeah. So Dave Sim, he had a reputation up to a point of just being like this weird, horny, like kind of cool hipster creator, but like he was a little weird about women, but like
right.
His comic seemed to have like some feminist themes to it. But then, like in the early '90s, he declared that he had this philosophy or whatever that was sort of pseudo-cosmic about whatever, and it basically just said that men are the creative light and women are the sort of emotional void, and that they were in eternal conflict, and women were, basically like women are stupid and not consequential, and men should stop.
Wow.
It was an incel type of thing. It's really pretty gross.
To alienate a good chunk of your audience there, Dave.
But he was so locked into to indie comics, and again, it's like it was before the internet, before something could like really.
I guess
it was well known, but it's not like it would be like around the world in 2 seconds like it would be today. But anyway, up to a point, it was a great series. You know what I mean? Like it was beautifully drawn. Like it's beautifully drawn throughout because the assistant on it was Gerhard, who's a single name guy. Oh. Anyway, and he did all the backgrounds, and they're gorgeous. They're just gorgeous. Like the craftsmanship is off the charts, and the storytelling was pretty astonishing. And it's like that's the thing. I enjoyed it up to a point, but then I kept buying it because like it was the trade. It was like the ultimate version of it.
Yeah. And
it would come out every couple of years whenever there were enough issues, and it was a phone book, as they called it. It was like on cheap paper, and it was basically the best value for $25 or something, whatever it was. And and then of course, and I don't really feel the need to be a completist on anything, but on this I was like, well, I started.
That's the spirit.
I'll get them. I'll read them, and I read them all. And then I met Gerhard, the background guy, at one convention, and I told him I bought it. He gave me a little sticker that was like a medal, like a war medal.
Really? Did he have that handy?
For having read it all. I think he's got mixed feelings about the whole thing too. But anyway.
Right.
Yeah.
Does the quality drop off?
I have other things that I'm a completist about, like like I got the official handbook of the Marvel Universe. I got all of those in a little little thing, because back in the early 2000s, before the internet had all this stuff, I was trying to do like a Marvel and it was a DC thing, but I wanted to do something with like all these supervillains, and so I wanted to like look them all up. And of course, this is way out of date. It wasn't quite as out of date at that time.
Yeah.
And
well, they re-released them in trades. I think that's where I first got them. I had them in trades. In like the late 80s, early 90s. 10 books, I think.
Yeah, and they...
So I used to just live on those. Probably more than the actual comics.
They did a big like essential edition too that was in black and white. You know, just those same phone
Yeah,
book
they
type of
did.
things.
And they've
Those are
released them
really those
again.
are fun.
They're now an
Yeah, and I
omnibus
mean,
format.
yeah, and it's like they're useful, but they're also like really nostalgic for me because
Yeah.
it's like I remember those coming out and it was like, oh yeah, you know, like this is the real, like we can finally find out who's stronger, the Hulk or the Thing or what.
Just with the power of digits.
Right, right.
100.
Right.
80, something like top trumps, isn't it?
He's a 7 and he's an 8. I don't know. Like, I don't know. It just was funny.
Funnily enough, that resulted in this, which I just kind of was saying as a throwaway comment there. Now I can't find the main one. But it resulted in their top trumps. You can't really see that. So they were top trumps cards based on the Marvel Handbook stuff.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And
cool.
I still play them with my kids.
So so it's like a... Oh, yeah, just
there was
like
a villain
deck
set.
building game?
Yeah, no, it was literally, you get a 52. Did you not have top trumps in the States, or is it more of an English thing? But you just have a set of numbers, and you go like strength 80, and they go strength 85. Oh, you can have, that's my card. You know, and whoever ends up with the pile wins.
Oh, yeah, yeah. I'm sure we have a version of that. But I don't know that brand name.
Ah, right. Yeah, they were great enough. They still play when I play them with my kids, and they're learning who all the characters are, and all the artwork is like knockoff versions of the Marvel Handbook artwork.
Yeah, right. Re-inked it to the right size.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then I'm showing that this is what they really look like, and I'm going through my Marvel Handbook Omnibus with them, and it's such a heavy beast. Like they can't hold it. They're interested, but they can't even lift the thing. Like it's
right.
It's ridiculous. But that's a great set. And do you how often have you laid out all the covers so that they do the whole running sequence?
Just once.
Just once. Be honest.
Is it just
one?
I did a scan. I scanned them all one
Did
time.
you?
So I have a file, huge file somewhere that's just, that's like this long, But yeah, it's really kind of cool. It's interesting how well they match up.
Yeah. Just on Cerberus, before we move on to your next one, on Cerberus, did you mean that like it's actually a good story to a point, or did you feel like what you became aware of with Dave Simon's reputation coloured it for you? Or?
Well, I don't mind reading books by people that I disagree with. You know what I mean? Like, I think like I was thinking about Nexus. Nexus is a great comic that I love, but it's like Mike Barron's politics are pretty different from mine. Like that's a long way to go to justify the death penalty. You know what I mean? Like, and Cerebus was the same kind of way, where it's like, oh yeah, like he was an unpleasant guy, and like I felt like the moral universe was a little bit off, or a little bit strange. But it was also like, I don't know, like it made its case. And so you could be like, all right, sure, I'll read it. And there's parts you're just like, ugh, I don't like that much. But I mean, I think especially then it was like, oh, it's not just this pat good versus evil with the usual kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It's this very cynical sort of, smartest guy in the room type of attitude, which, obviously that can be tiresome. But it was also a little bit fun. I mean, because it was originally a parody of Barry Windsor Smith's Conan, and Roy Thomas's Conan adaptations, so it was kind of fun to sort of take that stuff, which is usually a pretty, fairly clearly outlined story, and then give it a twist, give it a sort of a, like the main character is always, Cerebus is always very selfish, even from the very beginning, and sort of like lets people down in sort of like hilariously cynical ways. And so it was kind of, I don't know, it was a fun series to read. And then as he got better, the story, there was a story called Jaka's Story. It was one of the trades, one of the final good ones, that was really took the viewpoint of this woman who was also fairly selfish, but really kind of told her story in these sort of like prose interstitial bits between a section that was in comics. It was really very well crafted and really well done. And yeah, I mean, it was fascinating. He was great ear for dialogue, great, storytelling. It was unhurried, as opposed to most comics, which are sort of like
Deadline.
moving the story along, got to get those 20 pages. Whereas this was sort of like, he had no interest in concluding things by issue. And so it just kind of took as long as it took.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think that there's been a way where people are like, I don't want to support this person at all. And it's like, yeah, me neither. I mean, if you really want to put it, get down to it, no, neither do I. But I also felt like it's fascinating when somebody, even with somebody with repellent politics, makes a good case for their side. You're like, I mean, it's an interesting read.
Well, that's the thing.
And
it's a window in sometimes just to understand the perspective, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. But also sometimes I think, like, when there's a lot of people involved in a project and then one person does something maybe we wish they hadn't, I always feel like everyone else suffers.
Yeah. A lot of friends who were, working on Sandman back in the day, and that's sure too bad. You know, all that.
I was literally about to do a reading order for Sandman this year, and I'm thinking, like, might leave it.
Yeah. Well, people have really brought up this one issue, which sort of like lays the groundwork for like all the stuff that happened in real life. And it's like, ooh, that's pretty grim. Yeah, it's in the first 2 years of it. It's called Calliope. If you don't want to look at it,
I think I vaguely remember that one.
Yeah.
Funnily enough.
So, I think it's. I just feel like I don't seek it out. But I am interested. I'm interested in reading books where you're like, oh yeah, this person has has created a moral universe that's different than what I would necessarily agree with, but I'm interested to see where they take it. That's, I don't want to support any crimes, but but
good lad.
But some of those comics are, some of those comics are good.
Oh no, that's fair enough. Okay, so let's take a look at your number 4 then, which is a Holy Grail. That's something that you've always wanted to get your paws on. What have you got?
Well, when I was a teenager, just getting into comics, mini comics were kind of cool and hip. Like there are a lot, and the comic book store that I went to kind of had a lot of mini comics. And so one of them was Cynical Man, which is a stick figure comic, but made by Matt Feazell. And it was really silly. It was really fun, but it was also one of those things where you're like, oh, I might be able to do this. Like, I could tell this guy's a better artist than the stick figures.
Right.
I could do this, kind of. And so then there was also like this thing called the Small Press Comics Explosion, which is like a catalog for mini comics. And then there was giant size mini comics. Anyway, there were a whole bunch of like mini comics. And so there was one called Dishman. It was just like a guy who gains the power to magically clean dishes and put them away just by waving his hands. But it was also drawn beautifully, and so I had one issue of it and I was like, it's so obscure.
There were multiple issues of Dishman?
What's that?
There were multiple issues of Dishman?
Oh yeah, there were like 8 issues of Dishman, like this 8-page mini comic. So, and then I was just at the comic book store just the other day.
Yeah.
And I was like, and I saw the collected
What?
Dishman.
Get out.
I was like, oh my God.
This is still
I didn't even know I wanted it. I didn't, because I hadn't thought about it in 30 years. I had this cover, this issue of Dishman. I mean, I must have read it 100 times because it was like, oh yeah, it's kind of funny. And it's so like, you can tell it's so well made. Like that is a really sophisticated illustration, especially for a mini
scrappy art. Yeah.
Yeah.
When you say mini comic, are they shorter or smaller or both?
Yeah, they were like 8 pages. And you can't tell the scale of it, but it's like a half sheet of paper,
right?
Of letter-sized paper, just folded over.
Yeah.
So it was either 8 or 12 pages or something like that, but it was a really short little story, and and so I mean, I'm sure I just had it lying around for 30 years, and so anyway, I just saw this and I was like, oh my gosh, it's real! Like I didn't imagine it.
It's Dishman.
And so they got it's printed by Black Eye Publications, which I don't know if you know Black Eye, but they they're like a really sort of like they do a lot of art books and a lot of very sort of well-regarded indie press.
So, and
in Canada.
They do comics.
Oh yeah, like only comics, only graphic novels. But they're always getting awards because their stuff is so like nicely made.
Right.
So anyway, it just was fun. It was just funny. It was like, oh, Black Eye Press. Oh, Dishman. Oh, all the stuff. It's got a quote from Scott McCloud on the back.
Really?
Which is clearly from the 80s because he calls it a charming, very well done mag, like as in a magazine.
Right.
Which is like, that is such an 80s term.
It is an 80s term, yeah.
No one's going to say that now. So anyway, I was really excited. I was really excited to find that.
Wow. I'll be intrigued to see if the sales for Dishman pick up after people watch this episode.
Oh yeah. People are like, there's Dishman. Yeah.
What are the chances?
Finally.
That is such a random thing. I was wondering while you were talking about them as well, if that contributed to the big two companies releasing the Ashcan editions that they would do in the 90s, because they were kind of similar format by the sound of it.
Yeah. I remember getting it was a copy of like Spider-Man #1 or 2 or something like that, where it was a mini comic size. It was really, I mean, it was small and kind of it'd be hard for me to read now. But when I was 11 years old, I was like, no sweat.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was really. It was. I don't know why that was such a hip thing for 5 years or something.
Who knows? Weird, but
yeah.
I can kind of see the appeal, and just the sheer randomness of that, I can definitely see the appeal, to be honest.
Right.
So
yeah, I mean, mini comics. I love having I make some mini comics. And I have them at shows and stuff, and it's really nice because people are like, it feels like something that you can only. I mean, it is something you can only get from the creator, but it feels like something. Well, like, how could you get this through like normal channels? You kind of have to get it from them at the convention.
Right. So we're wrapping up. We're wrapping up with something that you highly recommend.
Well, I'll do the runner-up first. So
okay.
There's a series called Demon by Jason Shiga. I think he self-published it originally, but then it's done by First Second.
Oh,
but
nice.
It's one of those things where it's like, I can't really recommend it to everybody because it is so grotesque.
Is it?
So he takes this very sort of like, pretty, not simple, but a fairly sort of straightforward science fiction / fantasy concept and takes it to an extreme that you have never seen in any comic. Like he takes it this weird sort of like, it has to do with sort of immortality and transferring of bodies and stuff like that. But anyway, he takes it to this extreme that is so it just goes absolutely to the very end. It's grotesque. It's ultra violent. It's you're like, this main character seems to be a sociopath, and so's his daughter somehow. And it's such a weird series. Anyway, it's great. I really like it. Jason
looks kind of cutesy. You were showing me the cover there, and I didn't get that from the cover.
Yeah. Well, it's completely. It's got a lot of tension. It builds a lot of tension in your head with like the artwork combined with the absolutely grotesque storyline. So anyway, Jason Shiga has done a bunch of books and he's never made a bad one in my opinion, but I think this is the one that's maybe the most fun to read.
Right.
Okay. So that's one, but my main one is The Great British Bump Off. And by extension all of the John Allison, the Allison verse.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know his work very well, but
I've read that one.
He did Giant Days,
yes.
and especially the stuff that he does with Max Sarin. So Max Sarin is a Finnish cartoonist and has this art style that is really, I mean, it's like an animation, but all these characters have all this personality. Like no one looks the same. No one, like everybody has their own look to their face, but then they also have all their expressions are so individual, and it's just awesome. And and all the stories are a little bit they're all kind of like cozy mysteries, murder mysteries, but usually no one's murdered, they're like poisoned or something, and then they have to they can't tell anybody who did it for a while, and there's always like a spunky heroine who's sort of figuring it all out. But yeah, Max Sarin is my favorite cartoonist, right?
Really?
It's just so beautiful, everything they do. It's just really wonderful. And John Allison is such a great writer, and all the phrasing is very sort of like takes sort of British slang. And I mean, I'm an American, so I don't know anything about any of this stuff, but like he takes British slang in a way that is very sort of entertaining. The same way that Dairy Girls takes British or Irish slang and takes it to this extreme, and it is so quippy and funny and like. So anyway, I everything that these two do is just the best.
It's a really sweet book as well, and I haven't read Giant Days, but I've been meaning to because they re-released it in fairly quick succession. I think about a year and a half ago in trades, really, really quickly.
Oh, really? Okay,
a quick re-release.
I was reading it digitally.
I can't keep up.
I think I was was a period of time where I was like, I think right at the beginning of the pandemic, I was like, I'm reading this, and so I read all of it digitally, and so it's like I didn't even know where it was going to end, like how many more pages I had to go. I was
just absorbing it,
just absorbing it in through my eyeballs.
Yeah.
You know.
Oh wow.
You know, we all had that moment where we're like, well, just let it wash over me.
Oh, too right. Well, I had that with Kaijumax, funnily enough.
Yeah.
But yeah, his stuff is really nice, and it's funny because like he's got that same vibe when he's in interviews. I've listened to interviews with him.
Oh yeah.
And he does have that real. It's like a Britishness that in my head it's translating really well across the water, and I can't 100% explain what it is about him, but it's kind of it's just. There's like an adorable side to the way that he speaks and the way that he writes, and it all kind of marries up really nicely. And it's a really pleasant, fun, upbeat read.
Yeah, like this really great sort of charm that you're like, I was hoping it was going to be like that. Yeah, like so. Anyway, yeah, I've met him a couple times at shows. He's such a nice person. Yeah, like it's out of reach, but he did a little drawing of a kaiju like some kaiju for me.
Oh, so. No way.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you do that? Do you go around asking people to draw kaiju for you ordinarily? Is that?
Oh no, I would never ask anyone to do it. Like, I mean, I've done sketch like trades and stuff. I'm not a collector of original art or anything, but I do like. I mean, I love to like trade people like sketches or things like that. But I mean, I don't keep things nice. so
for shame.
It's just sort of like. Yeah, it's just like magnetized to the, this locker here. Like it's just.
Oh no way! So you haven't managed to get Jim Lee to draw any of the.
If I found $20,000 and got Jim Lee to do one of his sketches, I'd probably keep that nice.
I'd look out for that.
Yeah, that was such a funny discourse where people were like mad that he was charging that much.
God, that's
and it's
insane.
Like that's the most optional of things to own is it's a Jim Lee original. You don't have to have one.
Although, did you see there was a massive piece that Walt Simonson did recently, and I don't even know what that cost, but like it's huge. If you haven't seen it, it's his Thor. It's based on his Thor run, and it's got a massive Surtur and all the other characters battling.
Oh, yes, I did see that. Yeah.
I'm looking at it going.
I think I saw that on Instagram or something.
Maybe Instagram, yeah. I remember looking at it going like, this is big. But I can't help wondering how much this is going to cost this person, whoever it is.
Right. Or the person they sell it to.
Or the person, or if they don't sell it, where the hell are you going to put it? Because that is a beast.
Right. My friend Brian Hurt, who did the Sixth Gun, and
yes.
Anyway, he did this illustration that was like, it was like this big, and 6 feet wide, and 2.5 feet tall. It was this great big panorama of like a war. I mean, there's like a million things in it, aliens and guns and, tripods and stuff. And he had it at a show because they had driven down. And so he had this massive thing at the show. And he's like, how much should I sell it for? And I'm like, you should sell it for like $20,000. He's like, I want to get rid of this thing. It's huge. I can't take it everywhere. I want to sell it. I'm like, well, I don't know. You should sell it for what it's worth. You should sell it for what it's worth.
Maybe don't sell it at a show.
Right.
So imagine turning up with your change and going, I'll give you 20 quid. That's all I've got left. After I bought some Pokemon cards and I haven't got much left now.
Right. I just want it to be more than what I would pay to get it shipped home.
Yeah. Fair. Are you having variant covers done for Sleep?
Yes.
You are?
Yes. Actually, yeah. Ryan Brown did the first one. Tim Seeley did the second one. Really? Tim Seeley from Hack Slash.
Yeah.
And John Bivens did the third one. He's a studio mate of mine, and he's the gore and horror artist.
Oh.
And I was like, yeah, I just want something like kind of gory, and he's like, yeah. And then Matt Kint is doing one, and Brian Hurt is doing one, and I'm just going through my Rolodex and finding all these people that I've met over the last 30 years.
Nice.
It's and mostly saying like, hey, I'll do a cover for your comic if you do a cover for my comic,
and they're going, no, you're not.
Oh, thanks, pal.
Oh, that's really cool. That I did wonder if you were going to, because it seems to be back in, variant covers have been back in vogue for a long time, and it just seems to be so prevalent. And what's quite nice if you are a trade waiter, is when you get the books and you go through like the art pages at the back with all those variants in, and you get to see it all without all the trade dress on.
Yeah, without the trade dress, and well, and so my initial sort of like instinct is to not have it, because I'm like, oh, it's just that's a lot of stuff to do. It's a lot of coordinating to do.
Yeah.
But Ryan Brown was like, oh, you should do one, and I'll do it for you. And he's like, but then you have to do it for every issue. And I said, well, why? And he's like, well, because every store will see it. They'll go like, oh, okay, I want, whatever, 5 of cover A and 5 of cover B.
Yeah.
And if you don't have a cover B for issue 2, they don't remember. And they just sort of like, yeah, we ordered 5 last time, 5.
Yeah. That makes sense.
5 of cover A. And then all of a sudden your orders get cut in half. Mm-hmm. And so I was like, oh my God, like I never would have thought of that in a million years. And it's like, So anyway, now I'm locked in, and I'm like, all right, it's time to start looking up people's email addresses.
Is that why you went for 8 issues? So instead of going for a full 12, just so you had less to organize.
Right. Yeah, let's make it 4. Yeah.
So when's the first issue out?
May. It's coming up on when I got to have all of it actually done. And,
yeah. Can you give me a quick elevator pitch for the book before we?
Okay. Yeah. So when he falls asleep, he turns into something horrifying. So it's like Jekyll and Hyde, but we only see the Jekyll parts. So every issue is from his waking moment to the moment that he falls asleep, and then the next issue he wakes up on a pile of bodies or in some unfathomable situation and is like, I don't remember any of this. I have to figure out what's going on, but I also have to somehow figure out what other people know about it and stay out of the spotlight. And anyway, it's a horror mystery.
Horror mystery with a little bit of dark comedy in there. Would you reckon?
Yeah, a little bit of dark comedy, a little bit of friends figuring their life out in the midst of murders
carnage.
And destruction, carnage. Yeah.
Well, I've got to say, you've never let me down on a book so far, Zander. So I'm desperately looking forward to this. Desperately.
Oh well.
Yeah, even though the tone is vastly different from Kaijumax, so if people are kind of going like, but will it? Is it going to have that vibe? It's hooked me right off the bat, and I'm not saying it because you sat there in front of me. It hooked me right off the bat. So I'm really, really looking forward to reading this book.
Oh, great.
But if you can't wait for the book and you want to pick up the single issues, do that. It's coming. The first issue of Sleep is out in May, and it's going to be a beaut, I think.
Yeah, it's gonna be great. Image Comics.
It's
awfully fun to work with them again after 28 years later.
What was it you were on with them? 20? Was that?
So The Replacement God was my 90s fantasy series, and I did 5 issues at Image as part of what they call the Shadow line. So Shadow Hawk, Jim Valentino's book, he had this thing called Shadow line where he brought in a bunch of indie creators, and it was sort of like the beginning of that version of Image, where it was like, oh, we're an indie company instead of an ersatz Marvel or DC where the big stars are playing it. Where like this, we're going to bring in creator-owned stuff. And they had figured, and they do the thing that Image does, which I don't know how much you know about Image's like business model, but they don't, they don't take any rights, they don't take any like licensing, they don't take anything. It's just publishing, and so it's really fun, but it's also like it's a lot of work for the creators. It's really good for people who know how to do all that sort of stuff, because then you can do it and have a lot of control and all that sort of stuff. But it's the place to take a creator-owned book if you have a lot of confidence in it, and if you have a lot of confidence that your reputation will sell it. Yeah. And all that stuff is, who knows, but but we'll
I think you'll do all right.
I think so. Yeah.
Cool.
Nothing's guaranteed in comics, as I've come to understand.
Still, well, whether guaranteed or not, we'll still be yelling about it, so don't you worry. We'll at least do our bit at least to back you up. So Zander, thanks again so much for coming back on and sharing some of your favourite stuff, and for talking about Sleep, and for even talking about Kaijumax, even though you might well be slightly sick of it somewhere inside.
Absolutely not. I will talk about Kaijumax all day long, every day.
Yes. Don't tempt me. So I've got 10 more Kaijumax questions.
Okay, good. Let's do it.